In 1974 in Naples, Italy, Serbian conceptual artist Marina Abramović performed what could be considered one of the most provocative pieces in the history of art. Now, if you're not up on what conceptual or performance art is, simply put, it's where the artist uses themselves, their body, as the medium of expression instead of paint, clay, film, music, whatever. In my honest opinion, being candid here, performance art often comes across as silly or pretentious, but sometimes it can be very effective. Case in point, this performance called Rhythm Zero, which consisted of Marina inviting audience members to do whatever they wanted to her, using any of the 72 items she had laid out on a table, such as a rose, a feathered boa, a slice of cake, grapes, wine, a pen, scissors, scalpel, chains, whip, axe, a pistol with one bullet, and so on. In this controversial work, Abramović would serve as the canvas for the audience to do what thou wilt. Her instructions were simple. There are 72 items on the table that one can use on me as desired. I am the object. During this period, which was 6 hours, I take full responsibility. And at 8 p.m., it began. Now, one must take into consideration that those present were not drunken hillbillies or the underprivileged from the inner city. These were cultured Europeans of the 1970s who appreciated fine art. Keep that in mind, because while the performance started off relatively harmless, the piece soon transformed into something quite menacing. An art critic who was present stated that it began tamely. Someone turned her around. Someone thrust her arms into the air. Someone touched her somewhat intimately. The Neapolitan night began to heat up. In the third hour, all her clothes were cut from her with razor blades. In the fourth hour, the same blades began to explore her skin. Her throat was slashed so someone could suck her blood. Various minor sexual assaults were carried out on her body. She was so committed to the piece that she would not have resisted rape or murder. Faced with her abdication of will, with its implied collapse of human psychology, a protective group began to define itself in the audience. When a loaded gun was thrust to Marina's head and her own finger was being worked around the trigger, a fight broke out between the audience factions. And Marina herself has stated that after the 6 hours were up and the performance was over, most of the audience fled the scene. People were apparently afraid to confront her, face her, and quickly left the hall when she ended her passive state and began walking toward them. Though she silently endured the actions of the audience during her performance, she had much to say after it was over. For instance, she stated that the experience I drew from this piece was that in your own performances you can go very far, but if you leave the decisions to the public, you can be killed. Now, we on the left-hand path, what can we take away from this performance called Rhythm Zero? The truth is quite a bit. First off, it proves my belief, my statement that no animal has the ability to domesticate itself. Thus, the true nature of humanity is that of the beast, which in this example is quite evident. What was done to Marina Abramović was carried out by individuals who considered themselves to be sophisticated, not the peons, not the rabble, but society's elite. And it wasn't just the men in attendance that were given into their base instincts, but also the women. It was said that some of the women would instruct their men on what deviant act to perform on her. This just reveals that that layer of civility that coats society, it's extremely thin. And when it's left unchecked, the shadow will emerge. Simply put, if you're not one with your personal demon, it will take dominion. The truth is, to be honest with you, if I were in my late teens or early 20s and had been there and had a couple of beers in me, I think I could have been swept up in the moment, if you will, and would have been consumed by my demon. That's because at that early age, even though then I identified as a Satanist, I didn't fully understand the complexities of this path. The fact is, a lot of you Satanists, even some of you who have been on this path for years, would still give in to your urges if you were present at a performance such as Rhythm Zero. Wouldn't you? Because that's what you think this path is all about, giving in to the demon, letting it consume you, while at the same time you claim your divinity. You think it's a simple proclamation without any real dedication or work. You think just being heterodox is enough to put you on the path. A few months back, I made a video about an Indian couple who chopped off their heads for Shiva. Now that was heterodox, but there was nothing left-hand path about what they did. This is an example that even being extremely unorthodox isn't enough to put you on the path, but I digress. What all great artists do, what they all have in common, I don't give a shit if you're a painter or a filmmaker or a writer or whatever, what they do is they make the unconscious conscious. In most cases, they have to go down deep to the foundation of being to find that truth before they can bring it back up to the surface. But in the case of Marina Abramović, she barely had to scratch the surface to reveal that ugly face of humanity's unconscious. The primal unconscious aspects of being. Now, besides revealing society's repugnant visage, what else was she trying to manifest? Simply put, I think it was individuation, her own personal enlightenment. She dared to go so far into the darkness that she eventually, and it may have taken years to process this, she eventually came out into the light. Or I hope that's how it worked out for her. I hope that was what the underlying intent was from the very beginning. Truth be told, like with great artists, if you want to be your own God, the first step is to make the unconscious conscious. Know thyself, inside and out, light and dark. That's what ritual does, or it should do. And Rhythm Zero was dark ritual, where she was not the sacrificial victim. audience was, while Marina was the satanic high priestess of that divine right. Like Aztec sacrifices, the audience members were cut open, bloodied, and laid bare. In conclusion, my friends, do you use art to help mine the depths of the psyche? And if so, what kind of art? What do you manifest? Leave your comments down below, and don't be afraid to like, share, and subscribe. I'm creeping up on 15,000 subscribers, and a little help would be nice to put me over the top. Until next time.